Peace, family. It's the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com. Just want to invite people to, the Patreon family, patreon.com/Hood Mystic. Just want to give a gratitude and thanks because of this Patreon page, we're able to do this show every day. And really just want to send a shout out and a thank you to them. And then also, what else? Oh, yeah. Peace. How are y'all doing? What's good? I am the Hood Mystic. Got a real powerful video. Words are power, and a lot of time, and knowledge is power as well. When you can understand the power of words and the power of just knowledge and understanding and having a deep understanding of life, I think that could really take you further than simply just living a life based on your emotions and never really fully examining your emotions. And so today I just want to take a real deep look into the psyche, into the souls of the people out there, and give them some deep insight onto energy and how energy plays out in our lives, and how we could begin to change our lives by taking control of our energy. And one of the easiest ways, one of the most fundamental ways that we can impact our psyche and impact our lives is through the modality of sex. But who's really talking about sex in a healthy, energetic way? There's a crude physicality to sex that gets us back into this space. I just know for me personally, and especially for my family, throughout attaining consciousness, we were able to heal some of our wounds by spiritually attuning to another and then having sex from that space, where it would be battles of infertility or, feeling sexually inadequate. Through utilizing energy and spirituality into our sex life, it has brought us, beautiful children. It has brought us a beautiful, peaceful life. It has brought us, our energy is one, so we feed off of each other. We give to one another energetically. We're never really alone. We are truly in tune. And I don't feel, and I may be wrong, I don't feel that we could have established this peace between us if I was mindlessly having sex with just random females and then trying to imagine myself to have a positive relationship with my wife. It just wouldn't work like that. And so what I'm gonna do is talk about some aspects that got me to this place where I'm having a conversation towards sacred energy exchange. And and just had this conversation, And so what's gonna be taking place in a week is a Venus retrograde. And this Venus retrograde takes place almost entirely square to Mars. And so if we remember what we've been discussing with Mars is this idea of enterprise, this idea of incorporation, this idea of actually coming together. And then you have a square to Venus, where it is truly freedom through connection. And so when I say enterprise, I don't want you to think like, the car rental place or starting a business. I mean, coming together with other people and with like minds and purpose and living that. A big part of that is the sexual activity that one is having. This is the square. This is the square to your enterprise. We can overlook this stuff. And for so many years, I looked over it. For so many years, I just wanted to satisfy my sensual pleasures. But the more that you study consciousness, you realize that you are, in fact, enslaved by your sensual pleasures. And so if you don't understand your senses, the same way you don't touch a hot stove, the same way you don't drool. But when you were a child, you would touch anything and you couldn't control your mouth. And so your mouth would just leak fluid. And that's the same thing as far as men that, you know, want to constantly ejaculate. And so I know this conversation is very grown and very mature, but I'm just really in my truth right now. And I don't mean to offend. I don't mean to make anybody feel weird for, you know, doing what they do. I'm just saying this is how I lived my life, like very confused and very lost in the realm of sex, where I would just simply want to be, I just simply wanted to have sex, but I couldn't say that. So I would do a whole bunch of other stuff in my relationships, and I was not showing up honestly in my relationships because I wasn't able to speak my truth. And so throughout this spiritual journey, throughout my spiritual attainment, I realized that in my relationships, I don't just simply want sex. I want more than sex. And so to be able to show up honestly in my relationship day after day after day after day, like we have absolved this square. Now, I'm only saying that because I know for a fact, because I talk to a lot of different people, that this relationship piece is big. This relationship piece is huge when you speak about your overall spiritual attainment. And if we are really serious about this spiritual stuff, and you're really trying to learn and expand yourself, right? And you are expanding yourself. You are gaining light. But what's happening? You have a partner that is not expanding, that is not gaining light. So in the realms of sacred energy, in that exchange, you have to be very, very mindful of it. Am I saying break up with your relationships? Absolutely not. I'm saying be so concerned about the love that you are giving and not be so concerned about the love that you are receiving, because if that person is not doing the work, then you shouldn't necessarily expect anything from them. And the only thing you actually can do is give love. And this is really Dharma. I feel like all relationships are positive and have the opportunity to grow and flourish if we just simply concern ourselves with giving each other love. My motto in my relationship is the 90-10 rule. I think about myself for 10%. Like I take a bath, I put on clothes and XYZ. But the rest of the 90%, I think about my wife. And I don't do that because I'm silly or stupid or because she asked me. I do that because I noticed that this is what she did automatically. She was always serving or interested in my needs. So I said, you know what? I'm good with her. I can give all myself to her. I can sacrifice my whole entire being unto her because she does the same thing to me. And this is why I feel like our relationship is so powerful and so impactful to others, to myself, to our friends, to our family. We are a beacon of love and what love looks like in real life with our children, with our the way that we conversate, our openness. Anybody can come to our home for whatever. People have slept on our couches. Like all of this is built upon love and peace and taking our energy seriously. We weren't cheating on each other. You know, early in our beginning, in the earlier stages of our relationship, it was not perfect. And we hit our bumps and we hit our bruises. But now we have reached the level. And this is Venus trine Neptune. We actively clear and rise with the moon. We are in tune with the moon cycles as one. And even when I talk about the moon cycles, I rest in my masculine role and she'll have her menses perfectly aligned and synced up with the new moon and the full moon. And I'm discussing it. And so this is how our energy connects. And this is establishing Dharma as opposed to karma, because the way that our relationship is set up, if anything was to happen, or if we were ever to separate, or if I had to go somewhere or she had to go somewhere, that love that we established does not go. It does not, it's not factored upon physical things. At least for me, I can only speak for myself in that regard. Like if she wanted to find a relationship somewhere else or do something else, I don't care, because my love for her is deeper than her actions. Is very much sacred, is very much built upon energy. It is built upon clarity, it's built on a deep knowing, because we have talked about everything. There is nothing that we don't share with each other, and establishing a spiritual union where we have done things in the name of spirit together. We have seen, we have went down to New Orleans and seen spiritual teachers hand in hand. So when it comes to cheating or infidelity or unfaithful, it's bigger than just cheating on her. I'm cheating on our whole spiritual bond. And it's not to say I don't have sexual urges for other people, but the reality is that I have to speak on it. And if she has the same feelings or whatever, she has to speak on it too, because it's like marriage is very sacred and it's bigger than a piece of paper. And the reality is, every time you have sex, in essence, you are married to that person. Energetically. See, the energy does not discern itself with a piece of paper from the government. The energy is not going to say, oh, they went down to the courthouse and had the piece of the whatever the case may be, the bailiff, the judge, Cindy from HR, reside over your wedding. And now all of a sudden your wedding is sacred. That wedding is sacred. That bond is sacred whenever you have sex. And so I'm still on Venus trine Neptune, because I want people to know that whether you know it or not, it's a sacred bond. This is a marriage that you are really committing to, because whether or not you know, that energy resides in you, both people. You're thinking about him all day. You're thinking about her all day. Why? Because y'all energy are intertwined. And there's nothing you can do about that. And the more people that you build up this energy with, and you're not reconciling it or you're not clearing it, maybe you have sex with one person, but that one person that you have sex with has sex with 12 people. Do you think that because you have sex with that one person that you are not getting that energy from those 12 people into your being? And like I said, this is for men and women, because what I'm speaking to is a point of clarity, a point of realization that you cannot play with your energy and be conscious. You can, if you don't want to be conscious, if you just simply want to live a life of fun and freedom and bump uglies like it ain't no thing, then just do that. But don't be trying to understand your spiritual attainment. But like, it was times where I would try to meditate, but I couldn't really meditate because my body would not respond, because it just wanted to be in the flesh. It wanted to have sex seriously. Like, it's hard to meditate if you want to have sex. It's hard to meditate if you're hungry. When you have a sensual desire or a sensual need, that in theory automatically takes you out of that space like that. And then what people tend to do is make the food spiritual, make the sex spiritual, when the spiritual is the spiritual. And so what do I mean? Venus sextile Saturn and Pluto, where we have your spiritual truth, your dharmic truth, and your transformation or your transmutation, your reality, and then freedom, and then effort. Meaning that none of this shit is easy. You mean to tell me that I'm not saying that it's easy to prioritize your pleasure. I'm not saying that's easy, but what I'm saying is it is so fulfilling to know that that's not a hang up when it comes to my relationships with women, that you'll never expect the hood mystic to come at you sideways on some sexual shit, because I'm not even in that space. I wouldn't even want to disrespect nobody or insinuate anything. Like I want to be a gentleman, and not simply be a gentleman, but embody that gentlemanness. Like, I don't want any scandal or any lingering shit under my relationships with people and women. Like, I deal with a lot of different women, and none of them could say, you know, the hood mystic really came at me on some real crazy shit. Listen, in the DMs all crazy. And I hear the stories, though, about the dudes giving the readings, and then halfway through the reading, they just slip in some sexual shit and make the girl feel uncomfortable. I heard his stories like that. So when it comes to enterprise, when it comes to me being successful, if I'm not in control of my sexual energy, then that will ruin everything that I've built for myself. Have you seen the news lately? See, imagine a person like Bill Cosby in totality. Let's not pick a side, but let's just use our imaginative brains here for a second, and let's simply imagine a man who cultivated his energy with his wife and his wife alone. You had no evidence of him ever being with no woman outside of his wife. All he did was focus in and hone his spiritual sacred energy. And everything that he did, as far as what he was doing with the schools, what he was doing with Netflix, what he was doing with NBC, the idea of hiring more melanated actors, directors, producers, that's beautiful. But he wasn't able to see it through. You know why? Because he did not understand the power of his sacred energy exchange. You could not just be giving your sacred energy to all these women throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, into the 2000s. And then once that energy feels like it cannot feed off of you anymore, guess what happens, fellas? That energy turns on you. Because now you have to understand this energy has to come back home. Like, you can't destroy energy. I know it's got to be real crazy to be thinking about some shit that you did in 1969 affecting you in 2018, but it happens. And we could all learn from this as a society, but we won't, because society is condensed and focused in on the physical, sensual pleasures, and that is all that there is to society. But the reality is that there is a spiritual truth, there is a spiritual reality, there is a sacred energy that if you knew about yourself as a man or a woman and you simply cultivated it, built it through ritual, through understanding the moon, through understanding time, through peace, through drinking water, through not being so caught up in what's going on in my physical life, in my physical being, like, you know, all of that shit is all tangled up, but now I'm untangling it, right? Making it be pure. And this is how I'm showing up to the world, because I really got goals and I really got purpose, and I really understand that this sex piece is really holding me back. Whether I have it or don't have it, I'm just fully in misalignment with my whole idea of my energy. And so if I could bring some type of awareness, some resonation to that point, then that can save a life. That can mean that a little boy can now live his dreams to full completion, because he understands that his energy is sacred and he cannot just be simply wasting it. Little boy, if it's a young man on this live or watching this video, I need you to understand, when you waste your semen like that, that's the equivalent as you walking around the world drooling. Nobody likes, you're not gonna get nowhere drooling. You have to keep it in. You have to, you know, have some sense of control of your salivatory glands. I just made that up. But, you know, your saliva, you control it in your mouth. If I start drooling, nobody's watching this channel no more. So understand, your sexual energy is the same exact way. And so we're going to talk about Saturn. Saturn is in a learning triangle. I love talking about learning triangles, and I love talking about Saturn and learning triangles because Saturn gives the best lessons in astrology. Oh, still on the astrology. We ain't made it there yet. So, real quick, Saturn is trine Uranus. Saturn is in conjunct the nodes, and then Uranus and the nodes are square. 3 planets, 3 aspects. A learning triangle gives you a problem, a solution, and problem, solution, and another, or the reason why, or the overall encapsulation of to why. So problem, solution, and why this all happened, a learning triangle. And so Saturn trine Uranus is the reality that so Saturn in Capricorn is in its home space, and it wants to be what it wants to be. It wants to ascend. It wants to get to where it wants to be. Like, this use an analogy, Bill Cosby wanted to have NBC and, Netflix and things of that nature. And so the Uranus aspect is like the changes that must happen and where you must go to. And so what he realized is that to ascend to that next level was a level of transparency that he was not ready for. And so I don't do things that, like, I try to imagine that a camera is always on me for the sake of, if I ascend to another level and then people really take a look at me, people can really take a look at you and the shit that you're doing just so they can have some shit up against you. So therefore, I know this, so I can't be out here willy-nilly, like that, especially if I'm trying to ascend. Because when you do something, then you will ascend. But that's just because that shit is like over your head. It's like kind of like, you can steal the bag out the bank, but then you have to deal with a lot of cops and a lot of people investigating you and a lot of stress. So it's like, are you really weighing it out? Because the reality is you don't, if you're not ready for that next level of ascension, if you haven't got all your ducks in a row, then don't expect that shit to happen to where, because the higher that you climb, the more vulnerable you are in a literal sense, in a figurative sense, in a spiritual sense. Like, the more that you take on, the more that people are going to expect out of you. And this is inherent. This is a trine. And so, are you embracing this ascension, or are you fearing it based upon the shit that you are doing with your own energy? You out here fucking willy-nilly, but then you want to be successful. And it's like, stop fucking willy-nilly. Well, I can't. Well, you can't be successful either. It's hand in hand. It's not like you could do both. Because ain't nobody out here doing both. That's the illusion. The people that's successful, the people that's at that higher level, the upper echelon, they have mastered their sexual energy. Better believe it. And they can sit on here and wear the sexiest clothes and be all on the, whatever. But you think that they just about to be out here fucking when they got appearances, tours, dates, and all of this shit? No, it don't work like that. You got to realize, like, shit, once you get to the level where you built the sandcastle, you realize that you are very in a sensitive, vulnerable place. So the more that you do to strengthen up your sandcastle, the better you'll be. If you simply building little bitty sandcastles, just using your energy up because you just don't necessarily understand that, look, Spirit always wants the best for you. And even if you don't know it, even if you don't see it, man, because the reality is when you trying to build sexual energy and you trying to understand your sexual energy, you want to have sex with people. That's the hard part. Like, you really want to have sex. You really want to do something. But the reality is Spirit trying to teach you something. Spirit trying to show you something about your energy. And this is in conjunct the nodes. If you're not fully understanding of your energy and your spiritual purpose or where you're going to go, I'm sure people told Bill Cosby, you're going to be a great man one day. You need to really be mindful of how you conduct yourself, because this shit can come back to you in the worst way. These people don't like the way you acting. And I'm sure he's like, fuck you. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do. I'm Bill Cosby. Got more money than God. Who gives a shit? And then you want to go to the next level and it's like, brother, hold on a second. Let's read your files. It's not going to happen. And so finally, Uranus squaring the nodes. What is the overall why to all this shit is happening? Why are we even here? Why are we talking about this subject? Because there is a major shift happening on the planet. Uranus square the nodes. There is a major change in your spiritual identity. And you ain't gonna find it by trying to have sex with everybody that you see and meet. You have to understand yourself, and maybe you have sexual proclivities. Maybe you need to find a forum or a good way to talk about it, or exercise, or, you know, learn about the power of your sexual energy. Read books. And so the book of the day, one of my favorite books, me and my wife, we read it together at times. We've read it together at times. And, you know, I read it a long time. It's like, even if you're not in a relationship, it's just a good book to get. Tantric Sex by E.J. Gold and Sibel Gold. It's on Amazon, but you can find a PDF somewhere on the internet. I used to could find it easy. I tried to find it recently. I couldn't find it as easy, but I'm sure it's still on there. One of the, or I probably got it somewhere in my email or somewhere. I know I got this book somewhere, but Tantric Sex by Gold and Gold. Like, if you're in a relationship, y'all should read this book together. You know, y'all should talk about this shit together. Y'all should understand tantric sex together. And then if you're in a relationship and you bring this up and your partner is like, I ain't into that shit, but you into this shit. You into your energy. You into raising your energy up, but your partner is not into that shit. That is bizarre. That would blow my fucking mind, to be with somebody and to not be on the same spiritual path. I could not imagine that. Like, I could not imagine that. I don't suggest that. I suggest you figure out your energy and don't waste it. I would not risk my life for a stranger. I would not risk my spiritual identity for a stranger. I would not risk my livelihood, my spiritual enlightenment, my spiritual attainment for a stranger, for somebody to be like, yo, I ain't really into that. Well, I am really into this shit. I'm super into it. Like, I'm super into it, like breathing. And if you don't want to breathe with me, then you can't live with me either. Ace of Wands is really tapping into your passion, living for passion. We get this card a lot on this channel because a lot of people do shit on this channel through obligation. They do not do the shit out of passion. And that's why that card always pops up at least once a week. And this is a reminder. If you're not doing shit based on passion, what the fuck are you doing? Four of Swords. The Four of Swords is simply saying that peace is extreme peace and it's very, very genuine. It is very, very true. Now, peace is not, you know, like a rug over, like you spilt a whole bunch of shit in your living room and then you just throw a throw rug over there. That's some shit that you did when you was 10, 11. You a grown ass person now. You cannot be throwing the throw rug. You gotta sweep and clean up everything, dispose of everything, make sure it's out of the house. You know, the four of Swords is like, I'm gonna just throw a rug over it. Hopefully it'll be alright. No, you gotta get into the mode of death. You gotta get rid of all of that shit that is not serving you in your spiritual attainment. If spiritual attainment is important to you, spiritual attainment is deeply, deeply, deeply important to me. You know why? Because I was a spirit before I came into this body, and I'm gonna be a spirit after I leave this body. So this body, my life, is just a simple expression of my spirit. I'm able to express the love that my being has through this body. But the body ain't shit. The spirit is all. And so this is the Venus card, Venus in Scorpio. Venus is in Scorpio now. And what does that speak of? That speaks to gain. Whenever we're fully aligned, when we're fully aligned to our truth, naturally we gain. We know we're not aligned to our truth when we're not gaining anything, when we feel stagnant, when we feel lost, when we feel out of the loop. From this place, this is, you know, how we stop our truth, how we stop having new perceptions. And I hope that makes sense. The Knight of Swords. We make better decisions through objectivity as opposed to making decisions through subjectivity. What do I mean? If you were to look over yourself being a scallywag, doing all of this crazy stuff, like you seeing the shit happen to you, like you're looking down over yourself like, this motherfucker will never get it together. From this place, it's easier to make positive decisions. If you're in it, you're not objective any longer. You're subjective. You are now this scallywag doing this scallywag type of thing. And scallywag is just a loose term that I use for men or women that's just doing random reckless shit. Subjectively, you're doing the random reckless shit because you're not doing in the work. You're stuck in the hurt zone. You haven't transmuted none of the pain. It's just simply hurt people, hurting people, hurting people, hurting people. The only people that rise above this hurting people are the people who would tap into their Knight of Swords energy, the energy to be objective, to look at yourself and don't do that. Do better things. And that gets us finally to the Four of Cups, luxury. And the luxury is knowing exactly what you want. Knowing exactly what you want, knowing exactly the relationship that you want, knowing exactly the community that you want, exactly the life you want to live, and taking the risk. We are bound by our fear, and our fear does not allow us to take risks, and therefore we are stuck in this perpetual state of searching for shit on YouTube. But we need to get up out of that space. We need to really go within ourselves, really understand our energy and bring it to the surface. Really hope that message did resonate with you. I really hope that what I said made sense. I know it's a difficult conversation, a difficult topic, and I expect some feedback or some blowback or people not liking this message because the sensual pleasures and the sex is more important than the spirituality to people. But for me, the spirituality supersedes all things in life, you know, all physicality. And through the physicality, I bring the spirit through. And so, and it looks a certain type of way, it feels a certain type of way, as opposed to it simply just being, you know, oh, I just want to have sex, oh, I just want to do this. And is it easy? Is it a simple process? No. But is it doable? Yes. You know, can you retain your semen for weeks or months and, you know, without going crazy or feeling like you got to have sex with people? Absolutely. You can do it. It's not hard. It's not hard in the sense where it can't be done. It's hard where you have to really train your mind and understand your energy, especially when it comes to a goal, when it comes to like doing readings or, you know, having to focus in on psychic information. Then you have to really be in control of your energy to tap to those levels. You could easily just say, fuck it, I'm gonna just have sex, you know, and then everything's thrown out the window. And so I try not to get to that point. Well, I'm not getting to that point. You know, so if interested in readings, consultations, things of that nature, hit me up at www.hoodmystic.com. If you want to understand, like, is he a good reader, or, you know, what do people think about this guy, make sure you check out the testimonials. That's actually on the website as well. Utilize the search feature on the site. It's a lot of different information. We talk about a lot of different aspects. What's coming up with me this weekend? We will be doing a new moon and Libra video that which happens October 8th, but we'll talk about it this week to kind of prepare, really go through this next week, really understanding the waning moon, really cleansing ourselves of energy that we don't need. But I feel as though it's been a very powerful, transformative week. These daily energy readings are not just simply confined to the day. You can literally watch any daily energy reading at any different time and gain pertinent and powerful information, because this information is not simply from me. It is simply from my understanding of information that was already on the planet before I even got here. And so I just pay it forward. It doesn't make sense for me to study the stars every day and not share the information with the people. So if it resonates with you, that's the purpose. And if it doesn't, there are other things for you to resonate with. And so we just want to thank you guys for tuning in to us for another healthy, solid week of dealing with this astrology. And please believe that I'll be here Monday back with more energy, more readings, and probably try to take it up to another level next week. So once again, thank you for the Patreon family, patreon.com/thehoodmystic. Thank you for everybody that's been supporting me, all the calls, all the emails, just everything everybody is doing, the growth and development that the family has been making and taking. Spiritual attainment is real. This is something that we deal with every day, we experience every day, and we just want to invite everybody in. So please share this video, let people know what's going on with this spiritual attainment, and hopefully we can heal the world one day at a time. You understand? So this is what we're doing. This is what we're going to continue to do. Peace from me to my family. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to be in Detroit this weekend, so hit me up on the email if any family is in Detroit. See what's really going down. But peace to everybody, man. Hope y'all have a wonderful weekend.